A doctor panics when a deceased patient moves during kidney removal, but what he discovers next prompts him to call the police. In the early hours of the morning, the civil hospital in Chicago seems like an island of silence in the middle of the sleeping city. The air is heavy with the smell of disinfectant mixed with a slight metallic odor coming from the operating room. Every step echoes, as if the entire building were breathing. The clock reads 3:30 a.m. Outside, the city is barely aware that inside, one life is ending and others are waiting to continue. Dr. Michael Carter slowly puts on his surgical gown, adjusting the collar and cuffs, as if every detail were armor against the weight of responsibility. He takes a deep breath before putting on his gloves. His face, tired from so many nights like this, does not hide a shadow of doubt, yet his gestures are firm. He has performed dozens of procedures like that one, but it is never routine to open the body of someone who until yesterday was laughing, talking, dreaming. The stretcher is already in the center of the room, Daniel Miller's body lying there, 29 years old, his black hair still damp from a last quick wash, his skin pale under the strong light of the lamps. There are marks on his arm, recent scratches, reminders of the accident that brought him there. He seems to be sleeping, as if he had fallen asleep after a day that was too long. The silence is broken only by the constant hum of the air conditioning and the distant beep of a monitor in another sector. In that space, time runs differently. Michael approaches the operating table. His eyes linger for a few seconds on Daniel's face, the youthful features, the firm jaw, a sparse beard that shows he perhaps never liked to shave every day. Michael thinks without saying anything how well he could be the son of someone his age, or even a college friend. The contrast is brutal, a body full of youth, now motionless, surrendered to science. He speaks softly, almost like a prayer. May it be dignified. May it be right. The team around him does not respond, only quick, serious glances. Nurse Camila arranges the instruments on the steel table. The blades shine under the white light, arranged with perfect precision. A stronger smell of alcohol invades the air. Michael adjusts his mask on his face. Behind the fabric, his breathing quickens slightly. It is not fear, but something deeper. The awareness that this moment separates the end of one man and the hope of others. He places his hands on the sterile field and looks at the wall clock. The seconds drag slowly. His heart beats faster in his chest. Daniel, still motionless, seems to retain a little warmth in his body. Nothing moves, but the whole scene carries a silent weight, as if something invisible were about to happen, waiting only for the family's signature to continue with the extraction, while the body was still warm. The hospital corridor seems endless. The cold lights do not warm, they only show the fatigue on the faces. The walls, worn by time, carry stories of pain and hope that no one dares to tell aloud. The distant sound of quick footsteps and stretcher wheels mixes with the stifled crying that can be heard very close by. Sitting on a hard, worn, wooden bench are 3 generations of the same pain. Doña Teresa, the mother, holds a rosary tightly in her trembling hands. Her lips murmur words that only she can hear. It is a whisper of faith, a plea that is no longer to save her son's life, but to make his path less cruel. The beads of the rosary slide slowly, as if each Hail Mary were an attempt to stop the time that is slipping away beside her. Karina, the wife, clutches a piece of paper in her hands. It is the consent form for donation. Her eyes are red, not from anger but from so many hours of crying that she has no more tears left to shed. Her breathing is short and ragged. In her lap, Sophia, barely 5 years old, curls up hugging her mother's body. The girl holds a piece of blue cloth, perhaps a sleepy rag, as if that were her strength against the world collapsing around her. A hospital worker approaches, carrying a folder and a pen. His voice is low, respectful but firm. "Mrs. Karina, Mrs. Teresa, we need your signatures." The silence is so heavy that the air seems thick. Karina looks at the paper, then at Daniel's mother. She whispers, as if afraid that her own voice will rob her of what little courage she has left, that his life will go to others. For others. The phrase breaks the mother's heart. Doña Teresa closes her eyes tightly, as if she doesn't want to hear it. Her hands squeeze the rosary so tightly that the beads leave marks on her skin. She takes a deep breath, and her voice breaking, replies, "My son was always good. He always helped others. May it be so until the end." Karina hugs Sophia close to her chest. The girl looks up, confused, not quite understanding what is happening. "Mommy, is Daddy going to wake up?" she asks in a whisper. Karina trembles. Her lips part, but no words come out. She looks at Doña Teresa, her eyes pleading for help. The grandmother strokes her granddaughter's hair and, swallowing her own tears, says softly, your daddy is asleep, my girl. He's going to help many people, and he'll always be with you here." She touches the innocent little girl's heart. Sophia squeezes her chest with her little hand and clings tighter to her mother. Karina can't hold back and lets out a sob hidden in her daughter's shoulder. The paper is still waiting to be signed. The pen is passed to Karina, but she can't do it. Her hand is shaking so much that it seems impossible to write anything. Doña Teresa, her voice firm despite the pain, says, "I'll sign with you, daughter. You're not alone." Together, mother and wife write their names, letters stained by the tears falling onto the paper. The sound of the pen scratching is like a sharp blow to each of their souls. After handing over the folder, only silence remains, a silence that screams. Karina hugs Sophia, hides her face in the girl's hair, and lets the pain come out in silent tears. Doña Teresa, with the rosary still in her hands, looks up as if searching the white ceiling of the hospital for an answer that will never come. And in that cold hallway, marked by quick footsteps and doors opening and closing, 3 women cling to each other. They have just said yes, but it is a yes that cuts inside, a yes torn from the heart. And yet it is a yes of love. The administrative office table is covered with papers, red stamps, hastily made signatures, protocols lined up as if they were the very guarantee that everything is within the law. The sharp blow of the stamp against the paper sounds like hammer blows. 2 exams, 2 signatures, a closed ruling. In bureaucracy, there is no room for doubt on paper. Daniel Miller is dead. Dr. Michael holds the sheets with his gloved hands. His eyes scan every line, every number. Medical writing is cold, direct, devoid of reflection, flat, criteria met. But deep down, something bothers him. He checks again, rereads the name of the responsible neurologist. The name of Dr. Castaneda is there, clearly signed, but a clear signature on record. But where is Castaneda? The hospital is sunk in the silence of the early morning, and no one has seen him that night. Michael looks up and fixes his eyes on the closed door. The empty hallway seems to echo the question burning in his mind. Why isn't the head doctor here? Before he can delve deeper into that doubt, the door opens firmly, and the hospital administrator enters. Dr. Urrutia, impeccably dressed, tie perfectly adjusted, hair slicked back, shining under the white light. His manner is calm, almost elegant, but the tension escapes in every gesture. His eyes carry the coldness of someone who talks about numbers and deadlines, not people. "Michael," his voice is low, drawn out, but too heavy to ignore. The transplant team is already in the room. They have the signatures. They are waiting. "Don't delay." Michael presses his lips, clutching the papers more tightly, as if searching for some answer there. "I haven't seen Dr. Castaneda yet," he replies, looking away, trying to hide his discomfort. "He should be here." He signed the death certificate. Urrutia flashes a short, hard, almost mechanical smile. "Don't complicate things. 2 tests done, 2 signatures. The protocol is complete. That's enough." Silence hangs heavily between the 2 of them. Michael feels the air becoming denser, as if the room were shrinking inside. His uneasiness grows, but on the outside he maintains his professional demeanor. Urrutia takes 2 steps forward and lowers his voice close to his ear. "Doctor, every minute counts. There are lives waiting for those kidneys. Don't get distracted." He wants to kill those waiting for the donation. The words sound like an order, not advice. The administrator calmly adjusts his tie, like someone who is in control of the situation, and leaves, leaving in the air that smell of expensive perfume mixed with hospital disinfectant. Michael stands still with the report still in his hands. He looks again at Castañeda's signature. It is there, firm and unmistakable on the paper, but the man, the real doctor, is absent. The clock on the wall ticks on without stopping. The pressure is not expressed in screams, but it is in every detail. Urrutia's hard smile, the instruments ready in the operating room, the families waiting somewhere else. The operating room is bathed in a cold, almost cruel white light. The metallic sound of the instruments being prepared by careful hands sounds like a reminder that nothing can get out of control. The air conditioning blows cold air, but even so, Nurse Camila feels sweat running down her forehead under her cap. She approaches Daniel's body, lying on the table. The surgical sheet covers part of his chest, exposing skin that is still warm and young, so different from the rigidity one would expect from someone considered lifeless. Camila, as meticulous as ever, checks the monitors and then gently touches his arm, as if to confirm for herself. Suddenly, something makes her hold her breath. The monitor shows a body temperature that should not be so high after so many hours. And then she sees it. Almost imperceptible, a minimal movement, a micro tremor in his left eyelid so fast that anyone else would have missed it. But she saw it. Camila brings her hand to her mouth, her eyes wide open. For a moment, the room seems to fall into absolute silence. She looks at Michael with a broken voice. "Doctor, I saw the eyelid move." Michael approaches slowly, his heart beating fast. He leans over Daniel's face, looking for signs that shouldn't exist. The seconds drag on. Only the distant sound of a monitor in another room accompanies the tension. He scans the young man's body with his eyes and returns to the motionless face. Nothing, except for that detail that now burns in his memory. The back of Michael's neck grows cold. The scalpel he holds feels heavier than ever. He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to find an explanation within medical reason, but before he can speak, a firm, controlled voice cuts through the air. "A peripheral reflex," says Urrutia, with a tone of impatience disguised as a fake smile. Nothing more than that. Michael looks up, surprised by the speed of the response. Urrutia takes a step forward, adjusts his jacket sleeve, and repeats in a firm voice, "Let's get on with this, doctor. I'm in a hurry." Camila remains motionless, still looking at Daniel's eyelid as if waiting for him to move again. Her chest rises and falls rapidly, her breathing heavy. Michael's gloved hands move slowly, adjusting the surgical field over Daniel's exposed chest. The blue sheets mark the area, covering everything around it, as if gradually erasing the identity of that body and turning it into just a donor. But one detail interrupts this mechanical gesture. On Daniel's neck, half hidden under the fabric, something glitters in the white light of the room. Michael stops, his fingers touching it carefully and pulling it toward him. It is a simple necklace, a thin chain of cheap metal with a small silver star in the center, already slightly scratched by time. Engraved on it in irregular letters is the name Sophia. The letters are crooked, written as only a small girl could write. The air in the room becomes heavier. Michael swallows. The image of that object breaks down any barrier between the doctor and the man lying there. He is not just a patient, not just a body. He is a father who carried the memory of his daughter in his chest as if it were his greatest protection. Camila, who was arranging the instruments nearby, notices the pause. "Doctor, did something happen?" Michael does not respond immediately. He holds the necklace for a few seconds, the star hanging lightly, as if it still had a life of its own. His eyes wander. He thinks of the little hand that surely wrote that name, of the pride with which Daniel must have shown the gift to his family, of the smile of a little girl giving her dad something so simple and at the same time so infinite. Finally, he lets out a breath of a voice. It's his daughter's. Camila looks at the pendant and feels her eyes fill with tears. She brings her hand to her mouth, as if it were disrespectful to continue standing in that room in front of something so intimate. Michael carefully puts the necklace back, adjusting it so that it rests on the skin. He takes a deep breath, but the lump in his throat doesn't go away. The monitor flashes, showing a steady, unrelenting straight line. The sound of the machines fills the room. but nothing can cover the silence that weighs heavier than any noise. The cold metal of the scalpel seems to burn his fingers. He looks at the equipment, then returns his eyes to Daniel's face. The motionless body contrasts with the star on his chest, a silent witness to a life that still beats in memories, in promises, in love, promises that cannot be contained in signed papers. He takes a deep breath, trying to remain steadfast, and says in a low voice, almost as if asking for forgiveness from the man and his family, "We will honor their wishes." Camila swallows, the sound audible in the silence. Her eyes shine, but she says nothing, just holds her breath as if her heart is begging her not to go on. Michael brings the scalpel close to Daniel's skin. The blade touches him lightly, barely grazing the surface. Suddenly, the impossible happens. The hand that had been motionless until then with force in a brutal reaction. Daniel's fingers close around Michael's arm. The grip is firm, hot, desperate. The nails tear the fabric of the surgical gown, scratching until they reach the skin. A hoarse, guttural sound comes from Daniel's throat. It is not a clear sound, but it is human. It is alive. The room freezes. Camila lets out a muffled cry. Tears fall without permission. "Doctor, my God, doctor!" Michael freezes, his eyes fixed on the hand that grabs him. He feels the weight, the real force. It is not an illusion. The scalpel almost slips from his hand. His breath catches in his chest. His heart races. But before he can react, Urrutia's voice cuts through the air like an invisible knife. Peripheral reflex. It's normal. Follow the tone. It is dry, almost aggressive, but unconvincing. The scene before them is not normal. None of it is normal. Camila, shy, shaking her head. "No, doctor. It can't be just a reflex. What dead person does that? I felt it." Michael does not respond. His body is paralyzed. Almost aggressive but unconvincing. The scene before them is not normal. None of this is normal. Camila, sobbing, shakes her head. "No, doctor, it can't be just a reflex. What dead person does that? I felt it." Michael doesn't respond. His body is rigid, his eyes wide open, trapped in that hand that still squeezes him. Time seems to slow down. The sound of the beep-beep becomes a slow beat pounding inside his head. It's a reflex. The scalpel slips from Michael's fingers and falls. The sound is short and sharp, tearing through the silence. He takes a deep breath, looks at the hand that still marks his arm, and finds his own voice, firm and low, with no room for doubt. "We're suspending the procedure." It starts moving again. Camila takes a step, frightened but ready. "Yes, doctor. Stop everything now. Clear the field. I want a new complete neurological exam." The words come out in blocks like stones. A wet compress covers the thin line where the blade touched. There is little blood, just a trickle, but it weighs like a scream. Michael's hands tremble as he holds the forceps. He breathes, controlling the tremor in his wrist, and closes the incision as if asking for forgiveness. Urrutia approaches, his voice low and harsh, trying to fill the air in the room. "This isn't necessary. We already have what we need, doctor." Michael doesn't raise his voice. He notes the time. "New exam now. I'm not going to take responsibility for this proceeding as is." The administrator takes half a step back, a tense smile plastered on his face. Camila is already on the phone. "Neurology, please. I need a complete evaluation. Yes, now." The air conditioning blows cold air on Michael's neck. The little star pendant touches the blue field and moves slightly. He adjusts it carefully so it doesn't scratch the skin. They move from the pendant to Daniel's motionless face. A second of silence, only the sound of the suction device turned off, the click of trays being moved, metal scraping metal. "Keep him protected," says Michael, more to himself than to the team. No unnecessary contact, continuous monitoring. Camila brings a clean gauze pad, the slightest trace of what came out from the touch of the scalpel. She adjusts the cables, checks the temperature, saturation, pupils. She swallows. "I already called, they're coming, thank you," he replies, and the word comes out hoarse, tired. The room breathes, a tension eases a little. Michael flexes his fingers, looks at the purple mark growing on his own arm. He doesn't hide it, he lets it hurt. The pain keeps him whole. Outside, behind the door, through walls and corridors. A sound cuts through everything, a thin, tight cry. Daddy. The syllable pierces through clothing, skin, bone. Michael closes his eyes for a moment. When he opens them, he is another man. The doctor stands firm like a wall. Camila, you stay with him. I'll go to the hallway. 2 minutes. Let me know if anything changes, okay? He slowly removes his gloves, throwing them away without making a sound. He washes his hands as if washing away guilt. He goes out into the hallway. It's cold, very bright, too long. The crying echoes and pulls him. The glass is large, icy, separating worlds on one side, life on hold on the other, the people he loves. Sophia is standing on tiptoes, her nose pressed against the glass, making a circle of steam that disappears and reappears in her hand. A star necklace, just like her dad's, but smaller, with a little ray in the corner. The chain hits her chest every time she exhales. Karina holds her daughter by the waist, as if she were afraid the girl would cross the wall. Doña Teresa is a few steps behind, with a small rosary in her hand, her worn fingers rubbing the beads without stopping. Michael approaches slowly, quietly, without interrupting. The girl notices a movement to one side and turns her face, her large eyes moist but without fear. She lifts the necklace with her little hand and shows it to him seriously, as if revealing a secret. You promised to see my dance. The phrase falls to the floor of the hallway and scatters. Karina closes her eyes and bites her lip to keep from breaking down right there. Doña Teresa squeezes her daughter-in-law's shoulder firmly, like a hug that says, I'm here. Michael swallows his own pain. He wanted to say many things, but he doesn't. He kneels down to be at the girl's height. His voice comes out low and simple. That necklace is pretty. Sophia nods, pressing the little star to her chest. My daddy and I have the same one. It's so we don't lose each other. He feels his throat tighten. He breathes. Can you show me a little bit of the dance? If just a little bit, I'll keep it safe for you. Sophia looks at her mother, asking for permission with her eyes. Karina runs her hand through her daughter's hair, forcing a broken smile. Come on, sweetheart, just a little bit. The girl takes 2 tiny steps, turning as she was taught, arms open, the tips of her toes barely lifting off the ground. The little star hits softly and makes a tiny tinkling sound. She stops, panting with excitement, and puts her little hands on the glass. You see, that's the part she likes best. Michael bites his lip, unable to promise anything. He rests his palm on the glass on her side. He doesn't touch her, but he's there. I saw it, and I'll keep my word. Karina finally speaks in a whisper. Doctor, I'm here. He responds simply, respectfully, patiently. Sophia presses her forehead against the glass again, brings the little star to her mouth, and kisses the cold metal. Daddy, wait. Michael stays. He doesn't rush. The whole hallway seems smaller, more human. He doesn't promise a future. He just offers his presence. And for a moment, between the glass and the pain, it seems that little bit becomes everything. Camila walks quickly down the hallway, her cell phone pressed to her ear. Her footsteps echo on the waxed floor, and each ring sounds like a hammer on the chest on the other side. Only the cold voice of the recording. The voicemail is full. It's not possible to leave a message. She lowers the phone from her ear, sighs heavily. The name Dr. Castaneda still throbs in her mind. It was his signature on the report. It was he who should have confirmed everything with his own eyes. Michael appears at the door, his gown open, his face tense. Were you able to talk to him, Camila? Shakes her head. Nothing, just voicemail. She bites her lip, hesitates, but then plucks up her courage. Doctor, one of the neurology residents, I asked in a low voice. He said Castaneda wasn't on call tonight. The words hit like a knife. Michael leans against the wall and closes his eyes for a moment. A chill runs up his spine, a shiver that has nothing to do with the air. He speaks softly, but firmly. Then who signed it? Camila doesn't answer. The silence weighs heavily. She decides to check for herself. She walks to the computer room and turns on the terminal. The glow of the screen illuminates her tired face. Her fingers type quickly, opening the internal system. She accesses Daniel's records, files organized in chronological order. The last one, EEG, appears on the screen, dated 20 minutes ago. The trace is a perfect straight line. Cold, unchanging. Brain death confirmed. Camila frowns, her eyes going to the digital signature field. It's there, highlighted. Castañeda, recorded in full. She knows how to read the technical details. She knows what each code means. Each time recorded, and something doesn't add up. 20 minutes ago, everyone was in the room. 20 minutes ago, no neurologist was there. Her stomach churns. Her hand trembles as she holds the mouse. "Doctor, come see this." Michael approaches, leaning in to see the screen. The blue light shines in his eyes. He looks at the report, the digital seals, the straight line of the exam. Then he looks at Camila in silence. Her breathing becomes heavy. Her jaw tenses up, clenches her hand into a fist so tightly that her knuckles turn white. Only one word comes out, low, hoarse, spat out in pain: fraud. The room seems to shrink. The sound of keyboards in the distance disappears. All that remains is the weight of the discovery, crushing the air they breathe. Camila looks away from the screen, tears welling up. This is not just a mistake. Someone deliberately tampered with it. Michael doesn't respond. He remains motionless, his fist clenched, his heart beating wildly. They know. They know the lie is no longer just on paper. It beats on the screen in front of them, more cruel than any scalpel. The family room is small, with light-colored walls and a clock that ticks too loudly for those whose hearts are heavy. There is a bottle of warm coffee in one corner, a stack of plastic cups, 2 wobbly chairs, and an armchair that creaks. The air smells of disinfectant and stale coffee. The TV is on without sound, showing some news program that no one is watching. Karina is sitting on the edge of the armchair, her fingers clenching a crumpled handkerchief, her face swollen from crying so much. Doña Teresa is next to her with her rosary tangled twice in her hand, as if she wanted to grab the world with it. They both turn to the door every time a footstep is heard in the hallway. The door opens slowly. Michael enters, takes off his cap, runs his hand through his hair, and breathes. His eyes show exhaustion and something deeper, a weight that cannot be hidden in words. He walks toward them, does not sit down, but stands firm and speaks as clearly as he can. "I came to tell the truth as it should be. I'm going to repeat the tests. I can't cut it short." Karina lifts her face as if she had been struck. She opens and closes her mouth without a sound. Then a hoarse whisper comes out. "What do you mean, repeat? I need to be certain," he replies, looking her straight in the eyes. "Certainty, really, without a doubt, without haste. Until I have that, I won't cut. I'm not going to do anything that puts Daniel at risk." Doña Teresa clutches her rosary until her fingers turn white. She searches for words amid burning tears. "Doctor, my son, what's happening?" Michael takes a deep breath. His voice is low, without beating around the bush. "What I can say now is that I need to reevaluate. I can't go on. I'd rather be wrong for being careful than for rushing." Karina trembles. The handkerchief falls from her lap and she doesn't even notice. She puts her hand on her chest as if to hold her heart inside. Her eyes fill with tears again, but now the tears are hot, mixed with a rage that is pure wounded love. "We donate our voices." She swallows hard and insists. "We donate to save lives, not to kill my husband." The phrase hits the room hard and hangs there in the air. Michael feels the weight, takes a step closer, and speaks slowly. "I understand. I heard you. Your yes was out of love and respect. That love today, the way to honor it is to wait, to repeat everything calmly, with respect, to check again with all due care, so that the donation continues to be life." Karina covers her face with her hands and cries, but it is a different kind of cry, without screaming, just a release that comes from within. Doña Teresa pulls her daughter-in-law close and hugs her, and the rosary makes a dry little noise as it hits her arm. "Can you give me your hand?" Karina asks in a faint voice, without letting go of the handkerchief. Michael extends his hand without thinking. Hers is cold and trembling. He holds it firmly, with respect, as if holding something sacred. "I'm not going to rush anything," he says, still holding her hand. "I promise you, today my haste is for the truth, nothing more. Doña Teresa gets up slowly and stands in front of him. Her eyes have the strength of a mother who has lost her footing, but does not let go of what she loves. "Thank you for speaking clearly," she says. "We can endure the rest. What we cannot endure is lies. What we cannot endure is running away." Michael nods. Silence returns for a moment, heavy, but less cruel. You can hear the ticking of the clock, Karina's ragged breathing, the rosary slipping through her fingers. "I'm going back to take care of her," he adds softly. "I'll call the team. I'll repeat everything. If you need me, I'll come. If you want water or coffee, I'll get it. But now I'm going back to her." Karina wipes her face with the back of her hand, without letting go of him. "Stay with her, doctor?" she asks. "Stay there, as if I were family." "I'll stay," he replies. And the word seems to fall to the floor of the room. Firmly, he slowly lets go of her hand, as if returning something important. He walks toward the door, stops, looks at them again. "Your yes is still beautiful," he says carefully, feeling each syllable. "It wasn't haste, it was love, and with that love, we will do everything right." Doña Teresa closes her eyes and crosses herself. Karina just nods her head accepting, crying softly, as if to say, "It's okay." Michael leaves. The door closes slowly. The clock continues to tick, but now it seems less harsh in that simple room between cold coffee and a silent TV. The truth remained standing. The yes that hurt inside ceased to be a burden and became care, love, and not haste. And that alone changes everything. The hallway is empty, only the distant sound of footsteps and the squeaking of a cleaning cart. Michael leans his back against the cold wall, takes a deep breath. His head is throbbing. He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to organize his thoughts when his cell phone vibrates in his robe pocket. He answers without looking at the number. "Dr. Michael." The voice on the other end is low, unhurried, but sharp as ice on the skin. "If you delay this procedure, 2 children will lose their kidneys today." His heart races. The air leaves him for a moment. He presses the phone hard, almost crushing it against his ear. "Who's speaking?" 2 seconds of heavy silence, then the same cold, emotionless voice. "It doesn't matter who's speaking. What matters is time. Every minute you hesitate, 2 children are closer to death. You're going to have to live with that." Michael closes his eyes and feels his blood boil. "I'm a doctor, not a murderer. You're crazy." He hears a short, muffled laugh on the other end. A short, muffled laugh without joy. "Doctor, then try. Save who you can." Saved. "The donor is already dead." "You're wrong. The report is there. Just obey." Michael feels his throat tighten. He looks at his own trembling hands. The words come out almost in a whisper. What if he's not there? What if there's still life? I don't think he moved. It was a reflex. Silence. No answer. Just the low, controlled breathing on the other end of the line. Then the phrase that falls like an unbearable weight. "If you delay, the 2 children will die." Think about it. The sharp click ends the call. Michael stands motionless. The cell phone still pressed to his ear even though the line has gone dead. The hallway spins a little. He leans his hand against the wall to keep from falling. A chill runs down his spine. Inside him, a whirlwind. He sees the image of children he never knew, waiting in some dark hospital room, their eyes sunken, their skin pale, their mothers crying beside them. And at the same time, the face of Daniel on the operating table, the hand that squeezed his arm, the little star on his chest. His whole body trembles. The question comes like a silent scream. Does the greater good justify the mistake? Michael bites his lips until he tastes blood. He puts his cell phone in his bag with a sharp movement and stands there, breathing heavily, trying not to let guilt swallow him up before his time. The hallway remains the same, but inside it, nothing is the same. The room is dimly lit. Only the lamp above the bed is on. The air smells of alcohol and metal. Michael adjusts his gloves and takes a deep breath. Camila is next to him, staring at Daniel's face, waiting for any sign. The body seems still, but the atmosphere makes it clear that there is no certainty. "Let's do the tests again. 1-1, says Michael softly but firmly. He grabs the flashlight and brings it close to the patient's eyes. He moves the light slowly. Nothing. The pupils do not react. Camila holds her breath, as if even her breathing could get in the way. Then he applies a pain stimulus, a sharp pinch on the fingernail, then on the sternum. The body does not move, only the monitors repeat their constant beeping, indifferent to the drama unfolding there. Michael continues with the brainstem reflex test. He moves Daniel's head and observes nothing. Oral suction, no cough reflex. But suddenly, when she applies stimulation to the eye area, the improbable happens. The eyelid vibrates, a minimal but clear movement. Camila brings her hand to her mouth, stifling a cry, her eyes filling with tears. "Doctor, did you see that? I saw it." Michael freezes, sweat running down his forehead, his heart racing. He looks closely, touches again, observes. There it is, the eyelid trembling again, discreet but alive. He removes his mask with his hand and takes a deep breath. It's not just a spinal reflex. The silence weighs heavily. Certainty begins to dawn. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Urrutia enters, his jacket lined up, his tie intact, as if the early morning had not touched him. He goes straight to Michael, chest out, and asks him what he thinks he's doing, trying to be a hero now. Michael faces him head-on, his voice firm, with no room for fear. "I'm not trying to be a hero." Urrutia takes a step closer, his face almost touching Michael's. The air between them seems sharp. He's delaying the whole hospital. He's throwing lives away to take care of that. Camila, her voice trembling, steps in. "Doctor, he's right. I saw it. I saw his eyelid move." "Shut up, nurse!" Urrutia roars with fury in his tone. Michael's chest swells. He takes a step forward, firm as a wall between Urrutia and Camila. "Don't yell at her." The atmosphere explodes. The tension spreads through the air like gunpowder ready to ignite. Camila takes her cell phone with trembling hands and presses a button. She calls security to the ICU, now. The silence that follows is suffocating. Urrutia stares at Michael, the cold smile slowly returning as if he were still in control. But the vibration of the call can already be heard in the hallway. The air is thick. There is no turning back. The truth knocks on the door, demanding to be let in. The room is narrow, the light too cold, an old computer buzzing loudly in the corner. It smells of reheated coffee and paper dust. The technician enters slowly, his green uniform wrinkled, his badge upside down. His hands don't know where to stay, sometimes in his pockets, sometimes twisting with each other. His gaze flees from the screen, from the floor. From himself, Camila closes the door carefully, making no noise, points to the chair. "Sit here, please." He obeys, his knees bumping together, the skin on his neck red and stained with nerves. Michael stands leaning against the wall, arms crossed, his voice calm and firm. "We just want to understand, without shouting, without threats, just the truth, nothing else." The technician swallows. I know." Camila turns on the computer, opens the system. The blue light on the screen illuminates his tired face. He clicks, types, opens the file. The sequence appears. Studies, schedules, signatures on the last line. There it is. EEG, flat line, time 20-something minutes earlier. Digital signature Castaneda. Camila takes a deep breath. "Look at me," she asks sweetly but directly. "Who tampered with this?" The technician opens his eyes wide, as if he had been slapped in the face. He shakes his head, first denying, then as if asking for time. His nails are bitten down to the flesh. I have to look at the door. I need my job." Michael takes a step, crouches down to her level. "You also have a conscience, and today it is asking you for help. Silence only the hum of the computer and the air conditioning." Camila opens the app on her cell phone under the desk. Her thumb trembles, but the red button appears large and clear. She breathes, presses record, leaves the cell phone face down on the desk. Her heart beats fast, but her voice comes out clear. "I'm going to ask again who tampered with the EEG." The technician's eyes fill with tears. He wipes them with his sleeve. "They changed it." The voice comes out low, raspy. "They changed the EEG." Camila doesn't react. She just waits. Michael, too. The technician exhales, tired of holding it in. "They ordered me to." I bite my lip until it turns white. I uploaded the file. It was to replace the trace. They said, "Put this one in and upload it." The file. They said everything was fine, that it was protocol, that the family had already signed. Who said that? Michael asks gently. They told me to. They told me to, he repeats, as if he couldn't say anything else. It came by message. They entered the room and spoke quietly. I didn't ask. I just obeyed. Camila points to the screen. That flat line here wasn't from the early morning study. No, she whispers. It was a ready-made file. An example of death. That's what it said in the folder. I just replaced it. Camila's fingers grip the edge of the table, forcing her breathing to slow down. The technician is still overwhelmed with guilt, and they used the digital signature. Her voice almost fades away. I saw the screen ask for the password and closed my eyes, and they approved it on my computer, on my face. The signature appeared. Castaneda Michael feels his skin bristle under his robe. He moves a little closer, but maintains his tone. Do you understand what this means? The technician cries silently, only his trembling shoulder betraying him. I know, I'm sorry, George. I just thought it would speed things up. I was already convinced it was the right thing to do for other people. He shakes his head, hating himself. I was wrong. Camila speaks slowly, like someone holding someone's hand in the dark. Repeat after me, please. Slowly, so it's clear. He breathes, gasping for air like a diver coming up. They ordered me to. I replaced the layout and they approved it with the doctor's signature, digitally on my computer. I gave it. Sorry, Camila. Look at the cell phone for a second, face down, as if asking for courage from an object. It's not shaking anymore. Thank you for talking. She says it, and she's sincere. The technician twists the cap he took out of his pocket as if he wanted to disappear inside it. My mom is sick. Rent. I know that doesn't justify it. He presses my eyes with my fingers, but I was afraid. Michael doesn't judge him. His voice gets even lower. Fear. I understand. Lie. You didn't do the right thing. Now the man sobs once more. He lifts his reddened face. If I could go back, I wouldn't. It was wrong. It was wrong. Sorry, Camila. She takes a plastic cup and fills it at the water cooler that rattles nearby. She puts it in her hands and tries to drink. The rim hits her teeth. She makes a clicking sound and puts the cup on the table. Breathes. Remains silent. The room seems smaller. The light from the screen marks everyone's faces. The hum of the computer becomes a chorus of guilt and relief. Guilt for having done it. Relief for having said it. Camila stretches out her arm and with a touch ends the recording. The click is soft, but inside it is thunder. She puts her cell phone in her pocket and runs her palm over her chest as if cleaning her soul. She looks at Michael. They don't smile. They don't win. They just acknowledge. Now there is a truth spoken. Michael straightens his back, but doesn't raise his voice. From now on, we continue with truth and nothing else. The technician just nods his head, unable to look them in the eye. His hands still tremble on the keyboard without typing anything. He can only say again, almost like a prayer asking for forgiveness. I said forgiveness. Camila closes the file slowly, like someone closing an open wound so it doesn't bleed anymore. The cursor disappears. The screen returns to the hallway menu. A distant noise of footsteps of life running from machines, singing the same beep as always inside. However, something has changed. It is no longer suspicion. It is not intuition. It is not maybe. It is clear as the cold light hitting everyone's faces. They manipulated the document, and that is said, recorded, alive. The family room is small, lit by a yellow light that does not warm the room. The clock on the wall marks the time in long, almost cruel seconds. Karina is sitting on the edge of the sofa, her hands twisting the handkerchief as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. Doña Teresa sits quietly to one side, her rosary wrapped so tightly around her fingers that it hurts her skin. The door opens. Michael enters slowly, without haste. There is no robe to hide the weight on his shoulders. This time, he doesn't remain standing. He walks toward them, pulls up a chair, and sits down in front of them, looking them in the eyes with the gravity of someone carrying a truth too difficult to say. He takes a deep breath before speaking. His voice is low and clear. There are signs of activity. Karina's eyes fly open. The air catches in her throat. Doña Teresa leans forward as if she hasn't understood. Michael remains steady, each word measured. It may be a deep coma, but it is not brain death. The silence that follows is thick and heavy, as if the air had turned to concrete. The ticking of the clock echoes off the walls, reminding them that the world continues. But inside that room, time has stopped. Doña Teresa brings her hand to her chest, the rosary slipping through her fingers. She squeezes so hard that the beads leave red marks. Her lips move, but no sound comes out. It is a desperate, silent prayer that only God could hear. Karina can't take it anymore. Her body gives way, and she falls to her knees on the floor, her hands covering her face. The handkerchief falls, and she bursts into loud, heart-wrenching sobs. My God, she's alone. He hasn't left. He's still here. Doña Teresa slides from the armchair to the floor and hugs her daughter-in-law tightly. The two cry together, entangled in each other, mother and wife, holding on to the same thread of hope that seemed lost. Michael lowers his head and swallows dry, his hands trembling on his knee. The decision to stop repeating, to look again, now finds meaning in the reaction of that family. Camila appears at the door, her eyes red from holding back tears. She says nothing, only squeezes the doorknob tightly as if it were the only thing keeping her from falling. For a moment, everyone is silent, only the low crying of the two women filling the space. Minutes later, the hallway leads the family to the front of the glass. The ICU is cold, overly bright, filled with the sounds of machines. The glass separates worlds. On one side, those who fight in silence. On the other, those who can only wait. Sophia is in her mother's arms, her little eyes still swollen but alert. She asks to be put down. Karina sets her on the floor. The girl slowly approaches the glass, her little shoes tapping on the floor. She grabs the thin chain around her neck. It is the same necklace her father wore. The little star shines timidly under the light. With her little hands, she presses the cold charm against the glass. Her lips move, and her voice comes out softly but clearly, enough to pierce through everything. Daddy, I'm your little star on the other side. Daniel's body seems still, but then slowly, as if it were impossible, a single tear runs down the edge of his eye, down his skin, and disappears into the oxygen mask. Camila covers her mouth with her hand to her mouth. The sob escapes uncontrollably. Her legs almost give way. Michael, seeing this, grips the bed rail tightly, needing support to keep from falling, his chest exploding in silence. Doña Teresa covers her face with her hands, the rosary hanging between her fingers. Karina hugs Sophia from behind, her whole body shaking, and in that suspended moment, there are no protocols, signatures, or reports, only a raw truth. A father still responds to his daughter's voice. A single tear says more than all the sealed papers outside. Everyone's breath is trapped inside. Daniel's heart insists on showing that it is still there. The hospital, which always seemed like a place of endless corridors and controlled silence, now breathes a different air. It no longer smells only of disinfectant and stale coffee. It also smells of nervousness, of justice entering through the doors with firm steps. It is almost 7 a.m. when two prosecutors appear accompanied by police officers. The sound of their boots echoes loudly on the floor, unlike the hurried footsteps of the doctors. They go straight to the ICU, showing their credentials. There is no room for discussion. This area is officially sealed, says the prosecutor in a firm voice, pointing to the yellow tape that is soon stretched across the doors. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out without authorization. Camila watches from a distance, her heart racing. She sees how they stick the tape and the papers, the official seal of the prosecutor's office marking the doors that hours earlier held a deadly secret, now guardians of evidence. Castaneda arrives hurriedly, his tie askew, trying to justify himself before they call him. I was on call. It was a mix-up. It was a mix-up. One of the prosecutors cuts him off sharply. Dr. Castaneda, you are immediately removed from your duties. He turns pale, sweat running down his forehead. He opens his mouth, but no defense is convincing. The documents speak louder than his excuses. Urrutia appears shortly after, his jacket neatly pressed, but his face hard. He tries to maintain his usual cold tone, but his voice betrays a poorly concealed anxiety. This is no time for drama. Lives are at stake. The older prosecutor approaches and places the papers on the metal table. Dr. Urrutia, you are charged with falsification of records and attempted manslaughter. The words cut through the air. Camila covers her mouth with her hand. Michael closes his eyes for a moment. Urrutia tries to react, but the mask of control slips. That's absurd. I just wanted the process to move forward, without delays. Manipulating tests, forging signatures, replies the prosecutor firmly. That's not rushing, doctor. It's a crime. Doña Teresa and Karina, called to accompany her, are sitting in the hallway. They heard every word. The mother squeezes the rosary so hard that one of the beads breaks. Karina looks at the floor, tears falling, but now mixed with a relief that is difficult to explain. The witnesses are called one by one. The EEG technician arrives with a pale face but speaks, his voice trembling. They changed it. I saw that they changed it. They asked me to, and I obeyed. I'm sorry. Camila, with her cell phone in her hand, hands over the recording. The prosecutor presses play. The confession echoes in the bright room, leaving no room for doubt. The silence that follows is absolute. Michael is also heard. His words are short but firm. There was no certainty. I suspended it because haste cannot be greater than the truth. The documents are collected, each page marked, each signature saved. The entire sector is taken into custody. No keyboard is touched, no drawer opened without being registered. For the first time in that long night, the hospital bows to the law. Castañeda lowers his eyes. Defeated, Urrutia tries to maintain his posture, but his shoulders sag. The words of defense disappear. Doña Teresa stands in the back, watching them and murmuring softly to herself. Justice is also life. And for the first time in hours, Michael breathes without feeling that the air weighs a ton. What was hidden is now exposed. What was a lie is now sealed as evidence. The night that began cold ends with the hospital divided between pain and hope. But through the door, marked with yellow tape, a truth can no longer be erased. Time inside the ICU does not run like in the rest of the world. The hours crawl slowly, heavily, marked by the beep-beep of the monitors. The air is cold, it smells of disinfectant, and each machine seems to watch in silence. Karina stands next to the bed with her head down, holding Daniel's hand between her two hands. It is a large hand, still warm but immobile. She slowly runs her thumb over the veins on the back of his hand, as if she could wake him with her caress. Her eyes are red, but there are no more tears, only exhaustion and waiting. Sophia is standing, leaning on a stool that Camila brought over. The girl is too small for this scene of tubes and cables, but she stands firm. The star-shaped necklace moves on her neck. She looks at her father's face, as if looking at a sleeping giant. "Daddy," her voice comes out softly, almost a secret. "It's me." She squeezes so hard that she holds her breath. She leans over, touches her husband's arm, and speaks between stifled sobs. "Love, if you can hear me, give me any sign, any sign." The silence seems eternal. Only the sounds of the machines fill the space. Camila, standing behind them, puts her hand to her chest, suffering inside. Michael watches silently, standing in the doorway, afraid to believe too much. Then suddenly, almost imperceptibly, something happens. Daniel's fingers, which until then had been limp, move. It is a slow, weak but real movement. His thumb presses lightly on Karina's hand. She feels it and gasps. "Doctor, doctor!" she cries out, her voice breaking. "He moved! He squeezed my hand!" Michael runs to the edge of the bed and looks closely. The body is still heavy, its breathing maintained by machines, but there, in the right hand, there is a response. Slow, minimal, but clear. "This is a motor response," he says, trying to keep his voice steady, even though his eyes are shining. It's not a reflex. It's life. Sophia, her eyes wide open, takes the necklace on his chest and touches it gently in her father's hand. "Daddy, wake up. I still have to show you my dance." Daniel's lips don't move. His eyes remain closed, but his hand squeezes again, a little harder. Karina bursts into tears, but this time it's a different kind of crying. It's not out of despair. It's out of pure hope, born from a gesture too small to be invented. He heard me. He heard me. Doña Teresa, who had entered silently behind her, covers her face with both hands and thanks aloud. Thank you. My God, thank you. Camila can no longer hold back her tears. She leans on the glass of the ICU window, sobbing softly. Michael takes a deep breath with his chest full, but speaks slowly, as a doctor and as a man. It's not a movie miracle. It's small, it's real, and it is life in that cold room full of cables and machines. The slightest gesture of a finger squeezing a hand is worth more than any report, more than any diagnosis. It is silent proof that life, though wounded, still insists on staying. Karina leaves the ICU slowly, as if carrying a glass filled to the brim. Her hands tremble in her palms. She still feels the weight of Daniel's hand, that slight squeeze that changed everything inside her. She leans against the wall, closes her eyes, and breathes. Doña Teresa comes right behind her, the rosary tangled twice around her fingers for support. Camila appears a step further away, discreet, respecting the space of someone who needs to talk without an audience. Michael arrives at the end, without pose, just presence. He stays by Karina's side but does not touch her. He waits, letting the silence speak first. Karina opens her eyes, still wet. Her voice comes out thin and raspy, but firm enough not to break in the air. Doctor, he swallows. I need to say something the right way. Michael takes half a step, his eyes never leaving hers. Here I am. You can talk. She looks at her mother, searches for strength, and turns back to him. The crumpled handkerchief is on her wrist, wet. Karina holds the cloth as if squeezing her own courage. We said yes, she begins slowly, because we believe that donating is true love. We believe it. But today I understood something. She knows. Pause. If one day if it really happens, we'll donate, but with certainty, with respect, and at the right time. The words hang in the air, heavy and beautiful. Doña Teresa closes her eyes and makes the sign of the cross. A long sigh escapes, small but full of meaning. That's it, whispers the mother, almost without a voice, with truth. Michael feels his chest loosen. He doesn't take back his word, he just offers his hand slowly without invading. Karina hesitates for a second and offers hers. Her fingers are cold, his are warm. The handshake is simple, without force, without a promise that cannot be fulfilled. Thank you, he says softly. Thank you for that, yes. It is still love today and always, and I will treat that love as it deserves, with respect and time. Karina bites her lip, and a tear escapes. She gives a short laugh, sad and beautiful at the same time. She knows what hurts the most. She asks, looking at the floor, to think we almost confused haste with love. It's not the same. It's not. Michael replies firmly and gently. Love is not afraid to wait. Camila wipes the corner of her eye with the back of her hand, trying not to draw attention. She takes a step forward and says in a delicate voice, You were very brave today. Karina turns to her and thanks her with a small gesture, then looks back at the doctor. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I don't know anything, but I do know what we are. I know what Daniel is. She squeezes Michael's hand a little tighter. If one day God really takes him away, and only if he really takes him away, he will continue to stand up to save whoever is waiting, but in the right way, in a clean way, because one's life is not paper, it is people. Doña Teresa approaches her daughter and places her hand on her back like a wing. Your father would listen to you, my daughter, she says softly. He always chose the right path, even if it was the most difficult. Karina exhales slowly. Sophia's star necklace moves on her chest, hanging around her own neck now, as if asking to remember the way. I'm not going to regret our yes, she completes, looking at Michael. I'm just going to change the way I say it. Yes is not haste, it is care. Michael bows his head respectfully, and I'm going to guarantee care. Doctor's word. She lets go of his hand slowly, as if returning a valuable object. Your yes was not used. It was stored in the right way. The hallway resounds softly again with the machines. A cart squeaks by. Someone laughs nervously in the background, and the laughter dies quickly. Here, time is different. Here, what matters is what was said. Camila leans on the doorframe as if sealing the moment without getting in the way. Doña Teresa kisses the rosary and puts it away in the pocket of her apron. Karina looks at the glass once more. Inside, the body she loves remains still, surrounded by cold light, tubes, and small promises. She brings her hand to her own chest and holds the little star. She closes her eyes and whispers, almost without a voice, "We'll wait for you, love. We'll wait for you." No one adds anything. It's not time for speeches. It's time to leave things in their place. And for the first time in a long time, things seem to fit into the silence that remains. Something settles inside. There are no fireworks, no loud music, just a clear understanding. Donating is still love. No cheating, no shortcuts, no rushing. Love with certainty, respect, and the right time. And that alone is already life. The following weeks transform the hospital. Where before there was complicit silence, now you can hear firm footsteps, folders in hands, people checking every detail. The hallways, accustomed to keeping secrets, have to open space for the truth. They take the reports out of the drawers and read them again, line by line. Every signature is checked. Every test is reviewed. Every suspicious case is given a voice. What once seemed routine becomes an investigation. The computers that stored altered files are now being checked. People are called in to testify, and for the first time, those who worked in the dark have to answer in the light of day. Michael walks from room to room with a notebook in his hand. He no longer has the look of someone who is just working a shift. He carries a new purpose on his shoulders. When the management decides to form an ethics committee, there is no doubt about who should take charge. He accepts without a speech, without a party, with just one short phrase, "Never again." Camila stands beside him and signs as vice chair of the committee. Her face shows a mixture of pride and fear, but she is certain that it is worth it. And the hospital that seemed too heavy gains a new symbol in the main hallway, a simple poster with large letters that reads, "Transplantation is life. Truth first." People stop to read it. Discreet nurses smile. Patients gently touch the paper as if they have found a vote of faith. Meanwhile, in the rehabilitation area, life moves slowly, step by step. Daniel stands leaning on a walker, his body still weak, his leg trembling with each step. The physical therapist encourages him, but does not force him. It is slow. It is difficult. Sweat runs down his face, but there is a sparkle in his eyes. Karina walks beside him, carrying a towel and hope. Every time he takes a step, she presses her lips together and holds back her tears until a laugh escapes her through her tears. "You're doing it, my love. You're coming back." Doña Teresa watches from her chair, the rosary rolled up in her hand. But today it is not a request. Today it is silent gratitude. Her eyes follow every gesture, and her mouth moves softly. "Thank you, my God. Thank you." Sophia runs across the room with a crayon in her hand. She stands in front of the whiteboard and begins to draw vigorously, filling the space with color. The lines are simple but full of life. A big yellow sun with thick rays extending across the entire surface. She writes as best she can, crooked but beautiful. "Daddy, the sun is rising." Daniel stops, looks at his chest, which rises and falls, tired from the effort. He slowly reaches out and squeezes his daughter's finger. A small gesture, but one that means the world. Karina covers her face with the towel and laughs and cries at the same time, the sound a mixture of pain and joy. Sophia jumps into her mother's arms, showing her the sun on the board as if it were a trophy. Doña Teresa silently closes her eyes and presses the rosary to her heart. She doesn't need to say anything, and in that simple moment, amid colored crayons, sweat, and tears, life shows itself as it truly is. Fragile, slow, but stubborn. It is not a quick miracle. It is the sun rising after the longest night. Evening falls over the hospital. The once noisy hallways now seem to breathe more slowly, as if even the walls needed rest. Michael walks toward the rehabilitation room, his steps slow, his head still heavy with the weight of everything he has experienced. He finds Doña Teresa leaning against the doorframe, watching her son finish another session. Daniel is sitting, tired but alive, and that is enough. She approaches him slowly, the rosary always in her hands, now resting in the pocket of her robe. Doña Teresa grabs Michael's arm firmly, as if holding a family member. Her eyes, filled with tears, shine under the yellowish light of the hallway. "Doctor," her voice comes out low but full of with strength, "you saved my son twice, from the road and from lies." The words pierce Michael's chest. He lowers his eyes and swallows hard. For a moment, he seems too weak to respond. "I almost failed," he says, his voice broken, almost a whisper. "I almost let haste get the better of me." Doña Teresa squeezes his arm even tighter, not out of anger, but with the heavy gratitude of a mother. "But you didn't let it completely." She is firm. "You held on, and because you held on, he is here." Michael looks into the room and sees Daniel trying to smile at Sophia, who is drawing another picture on the blackboard. He takes a deep breath and forces a small smile back at Doña Teresa, and she lets go of his arm, but her gaze remains, a gaze that needs no further words. Days later, the principal's office is filled with voices and papers. The atmosphere is serious, but there is something new in the air, a sense of change. The medical directors and coordinators are gathered around a table. Michael speaks little, presents, explains, insists on the idea that now has the correct name: protocol. Camila, double independent review, repeated test, family always present. He summarizes. It's simple, it's fair, it's the least they deserve. The proposal passes without delay. The weight of history is still too recent for anyone to oppose it. The protocol becomes the rule. At the end of the meeting, someone from the administration asks to speak, stands up and walks towards Camila. She shyly tries to hide behind a folder, but cannot. Everyone is looking at her. "Nurse Camila," the director announces in a solemn voice, "on behalf of the entire hospital, we thank you for your courage." He places a small box in her hands. Camila opens it slowly, and inside she finds a silver brooch in the shape of a simple star, delicate but full of meaning. Silence fills the room. Camila looks at the brooch and feels her eyes fill with tears. She runs her finger over the shiny metal, then pins it to her gown. She can't say anything. She just nods her head, crying softly, shyly. Michael, on the other side of the table, watches her with restrained pride. He doesn't applaud her. He doesn't need to. He just lifts her chin and looks into her eyes. And in that look, Camila understands that her bravery was not in vain. The little star shines on her chest like a promise. Never again lies. Always life. Always truth. Michael is alone in the hospital dressing room. The silence there is different, almost heavy, broken only by the dripping of a poorly closed faucet. He is sitting on a wooden bench, still wearing his gown, his head down, his hands resting on his knees. His tired body seems to ask for rest, but his mind is too awake. His eyes are lost in the void, but inside, a scene insists on returning, always the same, the scalpel in hand, the cut about to happen, and suddenly the impossible. Daniel's hand rising, hot and strong, grabbing his arm with his nails digging in, the skin marking itself, the guttural sound that came out of his throat. Alive, Michael takes a deep breath and brings his hand to his own arm, as if he still felt the pressure there. It wasn't a delusion. It wasn't a simple reflex. It was the truth appearing where no one can hide it in the skin. He closes his eyes and relives the moment. The shock, the fear, the silence in the room, only the distant beep, Camila crying, Urrutia trying to cover it up, and him paralyzed, realizing that the line between life and death is much thinner than any report can record. A tear escapes without warning. He wipes it away quickly, but cannot hide the tremor in his breathing. What saved him from making a mistake was not a manual or a protocol. It was only that hand, that impossible touch, that dismantled all lies and restored the truth. He gets up slowly, and faces the broken mirror in the dressing room. The reflection shows a tired but not defeated man. His voice comes out low, as if he were talking to the ghosts that still haunt him. It wasn't a miracle from a novel. It was true. He closes his eyes for a moment, takes a deep breath, and completes it firmly. Donating saves lives, but only when there is certainty, when there is respect. The words hang in the air like an oath on the hallway wall. As he leaves, the new hospital sign faces him with large letters. Transplantation is life. Truth first. He runs his hand over the paper, as if confirming it for himself. Outside, the morning has already dawned, and with it the promise that never again will a yes be confused with haste. Because true donation is love, and love only lives where there is respect. The table is small, made of wood worn by time but full of life. On top of it, the delicious smell of freshly cooked white rice, beans steaming in the clay pot, and tortillas stacked inside a cloth. No luxuries, no frills, just hot food and true affection. The open window lets in the night air, mixed with the distant sound of children playing in the street. Daniel is sitting at the end of the table, leaning on a cushion on the chair to make the body more comfortable, to support his body, which is still weak. His movements are slow, but his gaze is bright. He observes everything as if trying to remember every detail, as if thirsty for even the simplest things in life. Sophia ran barefoot through the room, laughing, her pigtails bouncing. She asks for silence, putting her finger to her mouth as if she were a great artist about to go on stage. Everyone obeys, smiling. She stands in the middle of the room with her arms open. She begins to show the dance steps she wanted so much. "Look, Daddy." She spins slowly, stumbles a little, but immediately straightens up. Her feet hit the floor, her arms rise, and the little star around her neck moves as if it were also dancing with her. Daniel brings his hand to his face, laughing softly. The laughter comes mixed with a sigh, a tired laugh, but full of pride. "That's my little star. Perfect, Car." Ina, leaning on the sink, laughs with tears in her eyes, drying her hand on her apron. Doña Teresa, sitting next to him, holds her rosary, but this time she does not pray. She just watches with a serene smile, as if silently giving thanks. At that moment, the door opens. Michael and Camila enter quietly, but their presence fills the room. They do not arrive as doctors. They arrive as family. Michael carries a small box in his hands. Camila smiles timidly, her eyes shining. "Good evening." Michael speaks softly, as if asking permission. "We brought something." Daniel raises his head curiously. Karina dries her face and invites them to sit with them. "Please, sit with us." Camila closes the door slowly. Michael approaches Daniel, places the box on the table, and opens it slowly. Inside is a simple, thin chain and a small, new silver star shining under the yellow light of the kitchen. He looks into Daniel's eyes with a firm but emotional voice. "It's for you, for when you're strong." Daniel takes a deep breath, his throat tight. He touches the star with trembling fingers. The metal is cold, but the gesture warms him inside. Tears fill his eyes, but he doesn't look away. "Thank you, really." Sophia runs and grabs her dad's hand. "Daddy, now you have 2 stars. Me and this one," she says, laughing. Camila smiles and covers her mouth with her hand to keep from crying. Strong Michael looks away for a moment, trying to hold back his emotions. On that simple table with rice, beans, and tortillas, there are no luxuries. But there is something greater, life that has returned, a family reunited, a promise fulfilled. And in the midst of it all, the new little star rests on the table, a small symbol that shines as if it were capable of holding all the truth of that night. The certainty that love, respect, and the right timing are the only way to save lives. The family said yes to life, and you would have stopped the scalpel. If this story moved you, tell me in the comments. Who did you feel for the most? The doctor, the wife, the mother, or the little girl? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another powerful story about life and hope.